The morning sun filtered through the massive viewing windows of Galactic Academy Station Harmony, casting long shadows across the polished metal floors. Jiwoo walked down the corridor with her head held high, even as whispers followed her like a persistent shadow. She had learned to ignore them over the past 6 months since arriving at this prestigious school, floating in the space between stars. "Look, it's the human," someone muttered in Galactic Common. Jiwoo didn't need to turn around to know who spoke. The Zilmari students always traveled in groups, their crystalline skin catching the light and throwing rainbow patterns on the walls. They thought humans couldn't hear as well as other species. They were wrong about that, just like they were wrong about many things concerning Earth and its people. Jiwoo adjusted her backpack and continued toward her quantum mechanics class. Her uniform was standard issue, the same gray and blue that every student wore, but somehow on her it looked different. The other students wore protective underlayers beneath their uniforms. Scales, fur, natural armor, environmental suits. Jiwoo wore just the uniform itself. "Nothing more, crazy human," another voice said louder this time. "Walking around with no protection. Don't they know how dangerous space is?" Jiwoo smiled to herself. If only they knew that Earth's atmosphere had less oxygen than most worlds, that Earth's gravity crushed down on everything with more force than standard galactic environments, that Earth had predators that could kill with claws and teeth and venom. If only they knew what it took just to survive childhood on her homeworld. The classroom was already half full when she arrived. Jiwoo took her usual seat in the back corner, away from the main clusters of students. She pulled out her datapad and began reviewing yesterday's notes. She didn't need to review. Her grades were perfect, but it gave her something to do while pretending not to notice the stares. "Jiwoo," a cheerful voice called out. Hana bounced into the seat next to her, her short hair slightly messy from running through the corridors. Hana was one of only 15 humans at the academy, and the only other girl in Jiwoo's year. "Did you finish the assignment on dimensional folding?" "Yes," Jiwoo said. "It wasn't that difficult once you understand the basic principles." Hana laughed. "Easy for you to say. You make everything look easy." She lowered her voice. "How do you do it, Jiwoo? How do you just ignore them all the time?" Jiwoo looked up from her datapad. Around the classroom, students were grouping together by species. The Thorians, massive and rock-like, clustered near the reinforced seating. The Velkari, small and swift, perched on the upper-level desks. The Zilmari, beautiful and cruel, occupied the center of the room like they owned it. "I don't ignore them," Jiwoo said quietly. "I just don't let them see that I hear them." Before Hana could respond, the classroom erupted in excited chatter. Belthar had entered the room. He moved like water, smooth and graceful, his blue skin shimmering under the classroom lights. His crystalline hair caught the light and scattered it in all directions. He was tall, even for a Zilmari, and he carried himself with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. Belthar was the most famous student at Galactic Academy. His family controlled 3 solar systems. His social media presence reached across 40 different worlds. Millions of beings followed his every post, watched his every video, analyzed his every word. He was royalty, celebrity, and power all wrapped into one perfect package. "Belthar," someone called out. "Did you see the news? Your concert tickets sold out in 3 seconds. Belthar smiled. That perfect smile that had launched 1,000 advertisements. "Of course they did," he said smoothly. His eyes scanned the classroom, acknowledging the various species with practiced ease. Then his gaze landed on Jiwoo. She felt it like a physical weight. The classroom went quiet. Everyone followed Belthar's line of sight. "The human girl," Belthar said as if he had just discovered something fascinating. "Jiwoo, isn't it?" Jiwoo set down her datapad. "Yes. I've been watching your scores," Belthar said, walking closer. His entourage followed like satellites orbiting a planet. Very impressive for someone from such a primitive world. The classroom tittered with nervous laughter. Hana tensed beside Jiwoo, her hand moving slightly as if ready to defend her friend. Jiwoo placed a gentle hand on Hana's arm. "Not yet. Thank you," Jiwoo said simply. Belthar reached her desk and leaned against it casually. Up close, he was even more striking. His crystalline features were perfect, symmetrical, designed by generations of genetic optimization. "Tell me, Jiwoo, do you have plans for the Grand Millennium Ball?" The Grand Millennium Ball, the social event of the decade. Diplomats from across the galaxy would attend. It would be broadcast to billions of viewers. Only the most elite students received invitations. No, Jiwoo said. I wasn't planning to attend. Really? Velthar's smile widened. But that's such a shame. I was hoping you might accompany me as my guest. The classroom exploded with gasps and whispers. Students pulled out their communication devices, already posting about this moment. Velthar inviting the human girl, the despised primitive human who everyone avoided. This would be all over the galactic networks within minutes. Jiwoo looked at Velthar carefully. She saw the calculation in his eyes, the slight smirk playing at the corner of his perfect mouth. She understood exactly what this was. A joke, a setup. Entertainment for the masses at her expense, I see, Jiwoo said slowly. So, Velthar pressed, will you accept my invitation? I promise it will be an evening you'll never forget. His friend snickered behind him. Hana grabbed Jiwoo's hand under the desk, squeezing hard. Don't do it, her grip said. It's a trap. Jiwoo knew it was a trap. Everyone in the room knew it was a trap. Velthar was going to humiliate her in front of the entire galaxy. He was going to use her as a prop in whatever cruel entertainment he had planned. She would become a joke, a meme, a cautionary tale about humans thinking they belonged among the stars. She should say no. She should walk away. She should protect herself. But Jiwoo thought about Earth. She thought about the gravity that pressed down on every human from birth, making them strong. She thought about the thin atmosphere that made their lungs efficient. She thought about the predators that made them fast. She thought about the hardships that made them resilient. She thought about what it meant to be human. Yes, Jiwoo said clearly. I accept your invitation, Velthar. The classroom erupted. Velthar's smile became triumphant. His friends laughed openly now. Devices captured every moment, already streaming to millions of viewers across the galaxy. As Velthar walked away victorious, he didn't see the small smile on Jiwoo's face. He didn't see the determination in her eyes. He didn't understand that he had just made a terrible mistake, because Jiwoo knew something that Velthar didn't know. Something that the galaxy was about to learn. Never underestimate a human. The news spread through the academy like wildfire. Within an hour, every student knew about Velthar's invitation. Within 2 hours, it was trending across 15 different planetary networks. Within 3 hours, betting pools had opened on dozens of worlds about exactly how Velthar would humiliate the human girl. Jiwoo sat in the human common room, a small space tucked away in the lower levels of the station. It was one of the few places designed for Earth's gravity and atmosphere, which meant it was one of the few places other species rarely visited. Too heavy, too oxygen poor, too uncomfortable. Are you insane? Taemin paced back and forth, his footsteps heavy on the reinforced floor. He was a senior, one of the first humans to attend Galactic Academy, and he had learned the hard way how cruel the galaxy could be. Jiwoo, you have to cancel. Tell him you're sick, tell him anything. I already accepted, Jiwoo said calmly. She sat on the couch with her legs crossed, reviewing information about the Grand Millennium Ball on her datapad. They're going to destroy you, Taemin said. Do you understand that? Velthar has millions of followers. Whatever he does to you at that ball will follow you for the rest of your life. You'll become the face of human failure. Hana sat beside Jiwoo, worry etched across her face. Taemin is right. I've been watching the feeds. They're already making jokes. They're placing bets on what you'll wear, how you'll embarrass yourself, when you'll cry. Let them bet, Jiwoo said. You don't understand. Taemin stopped pacing and looked directly at her. Humans are already seen as weak. We're the new species, the primitives, the ones who barely earned our seat at the galactic table. If Velthar makes you look stupid, it reflects on all of us. Jiwoo finally looked up from her datapad. Her expression was calm, almost serene. Then I won't look stupid. Before Taemin could respond, the door to the common room hissed open. Sora walked in, her arms full of equipment and fabric. She was small, even for a human, but she moved with the quick efficiency of someone who always had 3 projects running in her mind. I heard, Sora said, dumping her materials on the table. You're actually going through with this insanity. Yes, Jiwoo said. Good, Sora grinned. Let me help. Taemin threw his hands up. Not you too, Sora. You're supposed to be the smart one. I am the smart one, Sora said, pulling out a measuring tape. That's why I know Jiwoo can do this. She looked at Jiwoo appraisingly. But you're going to need the right outfit. I was planning to wear traditional Earth clothing, Jiwoo said. Exactly, Sora said. Which is brilliant, by the way, psychological warfare at its finest, but we need to make sure everything fits perfectly. Stand up. Jiwoo stood, and Sora began taking measurements with practiced efficiency. Taiman watched with confusion. Hana looked between them, trying to understand. Someone want to explain what's happening? Taiman asked. Sora didn't look up from her work. Jiwoo is going to that ball. She's going to wear a miniskirt and heels, and she's going to show the entire galaxy what humans are really capable of. A miniskirt? Hana gasped. Jiwoo, you can't. They already think we're primitive. Showing up in casual Earth clothes will just prove their point. No, Sora said, finishing her measurements. It will prove our point. Think about it. Every other species at that ball will be wearing environmental suits, protective gear, enhancement technology. The Thorians need gravity compensators. The Velkari need atmospheric supplements. The Gilmari need temperature regulation. And Jiwoo will be wearing a skirt, Taiman said flatly. Exactly, Sora smiled. A skirt, in standard station gravity, with no environmental support, no technological assistance, no protection. Do you know what that says? Understanding slowly dawned on Taiman's face. It says we don't need protection. It says we don't need anything, Sora corrected. Because we're human. Because we evolved on a death world that tried to kill us every single day and we survived. We thrived. We conquered it. Jiwoo sat back down, a small smile on her face. Sora understands. Okay, fine, Hana said. But what about the dancing? The traditional greeting dance requires incredible strength and balance. Most species train for years. Some can't do it at all. Show them, Sora said to Jiwoo. Jiwoo stood again. In the center of the common room, she began to move. It started slowly, a basic balance pose that looked simple. Then she shifted, her body moving through positions that required perfect control. She bent backward until her hands touched the floor, then pushed up into a handstand, her body perfectly straight. She held it, motionless, for 30 seconds. That's impossible, Taiman whispered. In standard gravity, that's impossible. Your muscle-to-weight ratio would need to be human, Sora finished. Her muscle-to-weight ratio is human, which means it's about 3 times higher than the galactic average. Jiwoo completed the demonstration, landing lightly on her feet. She wasn't even breathing hard. Earth's gravity is 1.8 times standard galactic gravity, Sora explained. Every human here has been training their entire lives in what most species would consider a high-gravity hell. We've been holding back in the academy gym because we didn't want to intimidate anyone. But at the ball? She grinned. At the ball, Jiwoo doesn't have to hold back. The door opened again. This time it was Ambassador Yoon, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought for years to get humanity accepted into galactic society. I heard about the invitation, he said without preamble. The Galactic Council is concerned. This could damage Earth's reputation. Or it could change it, Jiwoo said quietly. Ambassador Yoon looked at her for a long moment. You're serious about this? Yes, sir. Do you know what you're risking, not just for yourself, but for all of us? Earth has been fighting for respect for 20 years. 20 years of proving we're not savages, not primitives, not a joke. And you're going to walk into... That ball wearing what, a miniskirt? Yes, sir, Jiwoo said again. Why? Jiwoo met his eyes. Because I'm tired of pretending to be weak. I'm tired of making ourselves small so we don't scare them. I'm tired of apologizing for being human. The common room was silent. Ambassador Yoon studied her face, seeing something there that made him nod slowly. Your family was military, wasn't it? He asked. Yes, sir. Seoul Special Forces Academy. I was training to be a pilot before I got the scholarship here. And you think you can handle Velthar's games? I know I can, sir. Ambassador Yoon was quiet for another moment. Then surprisingly, he smiled. All right, do it. But Jiwoo, if you're going to represent humanity at that ball, you better make damn sure you do it right. I will, sir. After the ambassador left, the mood in the room changed. Timon stopped protesting. Hana started to smile. Sora pulled out her tablet and began sketching designs. We have 3 days, Sora said. 3 days to make you an outfit that will change how the galaxy sees us. 3 days to prepare. 3 days to make history. Jiwoo looked at her friends, at the humans who understood what she was trying to do. They were tired of being looked down on, tired of being called primitive, tired of being the joke species. 3 days to show the galaxy what humanity really was. 3 days to prove that Earth had earned its place among the stars. 3 days until everything changed. The Grand Millennium Ball was held in the largest chamber of Galactic Academy Station Harmony. The room had been transformed into something out of a dream, or perhaps a very expensive nightmare. Holographic stars danced across the ceiling. Floating platforms held musicians from 12 different species. The floor itself was made of transparent crystal, showing the actual stars below the station. Dignitaries from 47 different species filled the room. Ambassadors wore their finest formal clothing. Students wore outfits that cost more than most families made in a year. Everyone who was anyone in this part of the galaxy had come to see and be seen, and everyone was waiting to see the human girl get humiliated. Velthar stood near the center of the room, surrounded by his usual crowd. He wore a suit made from liquid crystal that shifted colors with every movement. His crystalline hair had been styled into an elaborate crown. Cameras followed him everywhere, broadcasting live to millions of viewers across dozens of worlds. Is she actually going to show up? One of his friends asked. Of course she will, Velthar said confidently. Humans are predictable. She's probably trying to look dignified right now, preparing some kind of pathetic speech about honor or respect or whatever primitive concept they cling to. The crowd around him laughed. Someone had already started a counter on the main display, showing how many viewers were watching. The number climbed past 10 million, then 20 million, then higher. The music shifted to announce new arrivals. Various students and guests entered, each trying to outdo the previous entrants. The Thorian delegation arrived in formation, their rock-like bodies moving in perfect sync. The Velkari swooped in from above, their wings catching the light beautifully. The Gilmari nobles descended on floating platforms, their crystalline bodies glittering like living jewelry. Then the announcer's voice echoed through the chamber. Announcing guest of honor Velthar and his companion Jiwoo of Earth. The room went silent. Every eye turned toward the main entrance. Cameras focused. Millions of viewers across the galaxy held their breath. Even the music seemed to fade slightly. The doors opened. Jiwoo walked in. She wore a black miniskirt that ended several inches above her knees. Her top was simple white with short sleeves. On her feet were heels thin and delicate-looking, adding several inches to her height. Her hair was down, falling naturally around her shoulders. She wore no jewelry, no technological enhancement, no environmental support system, nothing but herself and her clothing. The silence stretched. Then someone laughed. Someone else joined in. Within seconds, the room was filled with barely suppressed amusement. The human girl had actually shown up in casual Earth clothing. It was even more ridiculous than they had imagined. Velthar's smile was triumphant. This was going perfectly. But then something strange happened. Jiwoo began to walk. In standard gravity, which was considered comfortable for most species, she moved like water. Each step was perfect, balanced, controlled. The heels that should have been awkward seemed natural on her feet. The miniskirt that should have been restrictive didn't slow her down at all. She walked with the confidence of a predator, her movements smooth and economical. Her posture was perfect, her head held high, her shoulders back. She moved across the crystal floor like she owned it. Like every eye watching her was exactly what she expected and deserved. The laughter began to fade. Jiwoo reached Velthar in the center of the room. She smiled at him, a small, knowing smile. "Thank you for the invitation," she said clearly. Velthar recovered quickly. He was too experienced to let a simple entrance throw him off. "My pleasure," he said smoothly. "You look interesting." "Thank you," Jiwoo said. "You look very prepared." She glanced at his suit, at the environmental regulators built into the fabric, at the subtle gravity compensators in his boots. Very supported. Several people in the crowd caught the implication. Velthar needed support. The human girl did not. Well, Velthar said, his smile becoming slightly sharper, shall we begin with the traditional greeting dance? Unless, of course, you're not familiar with it. I know your species is new to galactic culture, the crowd murmured. The traditional greeting dance was notoriously difficult. It required strength, balance, and grace that took years to develop. Most students couldn't perform it properly, even with technological assistance. I know it, Jiwoo said simply. The music changed, shifting to the formal rhythm required for the dance. Space was cleared in the center of the room. Velthar and Jiwoo took their positions. The dance began. It started with a series of poses, each requiring perfect balance. Velthar moved through them smoothly, his gravity compensators making the difficult positions possible. Jiwoo matched him without any assistance, her body bending and holding in ways that should have been impossible. Then came the strength portions. Dancers were required to lift and support their partner through various positions. Velthar lifted Jiwoo easily, his enhanced strength managing her weight without problem. But then it was Jiwoo's turn. She stepped forward and took Velthar's hand. In one smooth motion, she lifted him above her head. The room gasped. Velthar weighed significantly more than Jiwoo. He was taller, broader, denser. The physics should have been impossible. Yet there she stood in her heels and miniskirt, holding him up with perfect stability. She wasn't even shaking. Velthar's face showed shock. This wasn't in the script. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to be the strong one, the capable one, the one in control. Jiwoo lowered him gently and continued the dance. Each movement revealed more of her capabilities. She spun faster than should have been possible. She held positions that made the audience whisper in disbelief. She moved through the complex choreography like it was as natural as breathing. Velthar, despite his enhancements, despite his training, despite his crystalline physiology, struggled to keep up. The dance required partners to match each other perfectly. Every movement Velthar made, Jiwoo mirrored with ease. Every challenge he presented, she met and exceeded. When he tried a particularly difficult spin, thinking it would throw her off, she completed it so smoothly that it looked simple. The crowd wasn't laughing anymore. They were staring. Some were recording. Others were simply watching with open mouths. The music built to its climax. The final position required both dancers to support each other in a complex balance that tested every muscle in the body. Velthar moved into position, confident he could at least match her here. Jiwoo met him without hesitation. They locked arms and leaned away from each other, creating a perfect balance of weight and counterweight. The position required absolute trust and absolute strength. Velthar held it for 10 seconds before his arms began to shake. Jiwoo looked completely comfortable. At 15 seconds, Velthar's gravity compensators whined with effort. Jiwoo's heels didn't even wobble. At 20 seconds, Velthar had to break the position or risk collapsing. Jiwoo stood up smoothly, not even breathing hard. The music ended. The dance was complete. The room was absolutely silent. Velthar stared at Jiwoo like he was seeing her for the first time. Around them, cameras captured everything. Millions of viewers across the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Someone in the crowd began to clap. Slowly at first, then faster. Others joined in. Within seconds, the entire room was applauding. They weren't applauding Velthar. They were applauding Jiwoo, the human girl, the primitive, the joke, the one who was supposed to be humiliated. She stood in the center of the Grand Millennium Ball in her miniskirt and heels, having just performed the traditional greeting dance better than most species could even imagine. She had done it with no environmental support, no gravity compensators, no technological enhancement, just human strength, just human balance, just human capability. Velthar's smile had vanished. His perfect plan had fallen apart. The humiliation he had planned for Jiwoo was becoming his own. And watching it all, from their various homes and worlds and ships across the galaxy, millions of viewers began to ask themselves the same question. What else were humans capable of? What else had they been hiding? What else didn't the galaxy know about Earth? The evening had just begun, but already everything had changed. The galaxy was watching, and Jiwoo was ready to show them more. The applause continued for nearly a minute. Jiwoo stood calmly in the center of the room, accepting the recognition without arrogance but also without false modesty. She had performed well. She knew it. Everyone knew it. Belthar's face was a mask of forced politeness, but his eyes betrayed his anger. This was not how the evening was supposed to go. He was supposed to be the star. Jiwoo was supposed to be the joke. The script had been flipped and he didn't like it. That was adequate, Belthar said, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. For a beginner, of course. The dance is really meant for more experienced performers. A few of his friends laughed, but the sound was uncertain. The rest of the room remained silent, watching. Perhaps, Velthar continued, warming to his new strategy, we should try some other traditional activities. Just to be fair. After all, one dance doesn't prove anything. He turned to address the crowd, his showman instincts taking over. What do you say? Should we give our human friend a few more challenges? The crowd murmured. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked excited at the prospect of more entertainment. The cameras kept recording, the viewer count climbing past 50 million. I don't mind, Jiwoo said simply. She looked completely relaxed, like she was waiting for a bus rather than standing in front of millions of viewers while being challenged by the most famous student in the galaxy. Excellent, Veltar said. He gestured to one of the side rooms. Let's start with the endurance test. It's a simple exercise. We'll see who can maintain an elevated heart rate longer. Standard procedure for physical assessment. They moved to the endurance chamber, a room designed for testing physical stamina. A crowd followed, eager to see what would happen next. The room contained various machines and monitoring equipment, all calibrated for standard galactic physiology. Velthar stripped off his jacket, revealing the athletic build beneath. His crystalline skin gleamed under the lights. He attached the monitoring equipment to his body, each sensor clicking into place with practiced ease. Jiwoo removed her shoes and rolled up her sleeves. She attached the same monitoring equipment. The machines beeped, calibrating to her physiology. Standard test, the proctor announced. An elderly Thorian whose rock-like body showed the cracks and weathering of age. Maintain 70% of maximum heart rate for as long as possible. We'll start with basic running, then increase difficulty as needed. The machines activated. Velthar and Jiwoo began to run in place, the floor beneath them shifting to simulate different terrains. The monitors displayed their heart rates, breathing patterns, and overall stress levels. At first, everything seemed normal. Both maintained the required heart rate easily. Minutes passed. 5, 10, 15. At 20 minutes, Velthar's breathing became slightly labored. His crystalline skin began to shift to a darker blue, a sign of exertion in his species. Jiwoo looked like she was taking a casual jog. At 30 minutes, the proctor increased the difficulty. The floor tilted, simulating an uphill run. Velthar adjusted, his gravity compensators engaging to help maintain his balance. Jiwoo adjusted without any assistance. Her heart rate barely changed. This is ridiculous, someone in the crowd muttered. Humans are supposed to be weak. Everyone knows that. Look at the monitors, someone else said. Her oxygen consumption is half what it should be. At 45 minutes, Velthar had to activate his atmospheric support. His species needed a richer oxygen mix than the station provided, especially during intense exercise. It was completely normal. Every species had their environmental needs. Jiwoo kept running, breathing the thin station air without any assistance. At 1 hour, Velthar stopped. He was exhausted, his crystalline body dim from exertion. It was an excellent performance, far better than most beings could manage. Jiwoo kept running. That's enough, Velthar said, his voice sharp. We've both proven our endurance. I can continue, Jiwoo said. She wasn't even breathing hard. This test is concluded, the proctor announced, looking at his instruments with confusion. The human has maintained optimal performance for 63 minutes with no signs of fatigue. This is unusual, the crowd whispered among themselves. Unusual was an understatement. Most species could barely manage 30 minutes before showing serious signs of exhaustion. Let's try something else, Velthar said quickly, moving to the next room before anyone could dwell on the results. The reaction test. Speed and reflexes. Surely that's more interesting than just running. The reaction chamber was smaller, filled with holographic targets that appeared randomly. Participants had to touch each target as it appeared. The test measured speed, accuracy, and reflexes. Ladies first, Velthar said with false gallantry. Jiwoo stepped into the chamber. The test began. Targets appeared in rapid succession, requiring quick movements and split-second decisions. She moved through the test smoothly, her hands finding each target with mechanical precision. The final score appeared: 97% accuracy. Average reaction time 0.15 seconds. The crowd gasped. That was professional athlete-level performance. Velthar stepped into the chamber, determined to beat her score. He had trained for this. He had the advantage of his species-enhanced neural processing. He could win this. He completed the test with 89% accuracy and an average reaction time of 0.23 seconds. It was an excellent score. Just not excellent enough. Earth gravity, someone in the crowd said suddenly. That's what it is. Everyone turned to look at the speaker, a Velkari professor named Dr. Crix. He was old, scholarly, one of the few beings at the academy who had actually studied human physiology. What do you mean? Someone asked. Earth gravity, Dr. Crix repeated, louder this time. It's 1.8 times standard galactic gravity. Every human grows up in what we would consider a high-gravity environment. Their bones are denser, their muscles are stronger, their cardiovascular systems are more efficient. He pointed at Jiwoo. She's not exceptional for a human. She's average. This is what normal humans are capable of. The crowd went silent. The implications were staggering. That's why she can wear heels and a miniskirt, someone else said slowly. Because standard station gravity feels light to her, like walking on the moon would for most species. That's why she's not wearing environmental support, another person added, because she doesn't need it. Station atmosphere is richer in oxygen than Earth's. For her, it's like breathing pure mountain air. The whispers grew louder. People pulled out their devices, searching for information about Earth. The facts they found were shocking. Earth was classified as a Class 4 death world. High gravity, dangerous predators, extreme weather patterns, variable climate. Natural disasters. Most species wouldn't survive a week on its surface, and humans had evolved there. They had thrived there. They had conquered it. Before anyone could fully process this information, another figure entered the ball. He was tall, even for a human, with broad shoulders and a confident stride. He wore a formal suit that looked almost military in its precision. Sorry I'm late, he said cheerfully. Traffic from the docking bay was terrible. Who are you? Velthar demanded, desperate to regain control of the situation. The newcomer smiled. I'm Jae-hoon, Galactic Combat Champion. I'm also human, in case you couldn't tell. The room erupted in shocked whispers. Jae-hoon was famous. He had won the Galactic Combat Tournament 3 years running, defeating opponents from dozens of species. He was considered one of the greatest fighters in the galaxy, and he was human. Jae-hoon, Ambassador Yoon stepped forward, clearly surprised. I didn't know you were coming. Jiwoo's my cousin, Jae-hoon said casually. Heard she was making waves. Thought I'd stop by to support her. He looked around at the assembled crowd. Also thought it might be a good time to clear up some misconceptions. Misconceptions? Someone asked. About humans, Jae-hoon said. He walked to stand beside Jiwoo. See, we've been trying to fit in, trying not to scare anyone. We use gravity compensators in the gym so we don't accidentally break the equipment. We wear atmospheric regulators even though we don't need them, so people don't think we're showing off. We hold back in competition so we don't dominate every sport. He paused, letting his words sink in. But maybe that was a mistake. Maybe by hiding what we are, we've let people underestimate us. Let people think we're weak. Let people think it's okay to treat us like jokes. He looked directly at Velthar. It's not okay. We're not weak, and we're not jokes. Master Kelvos, the ancient headmaster of the academy, materialized in the center of the room. His species didn't walk. They simply appeared where they wanted to be. Young Jae-hoon speaks truth, the headmaster said, his voice resonating with authority. Earth was invited to join the Galactic Academy precisely because humanity survived and thrived on a death world. We wanted to learn from them, to understand how they accomplished what should have been impossible. He looked around at the assembled students and dignitaries. But instead of learning, we judged. Instead of respecting, we mocked. We saw their lack of natural armor and called them weak. We saw their simple technology and called them primitive. We forgot that sometimes the strongest beings are the ones who need the least protection. The room was completely silent now. Across the galaxy, millions of viewers watched and listened. The Grand Millennium Ball continued after Master Kelvos' speech, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Students who had avoided Jiwoo before now approached her with curiosity and respect. Dignitaries asked questions about Earth. Scientists requested permission to study human physiology. The cameras kept recording, broadcasting everything across the galaxy. Velthar stood alone near the edge of the room, watching his social empire crumble in real time. His communication device buzzed constantly with notifications. Sponsors were pulling their contracts. Followers were leaving by the thousands. The comments on his live stream had turned from supportive to critical. "You're a bully," one message read, "picking on someone weaker?" "Except she wasn't weaker. You were. Unsubscribed," another said. "Can't support someone who treats people like jokes." "Humanity, fuck yeah," read another, in the strange Earth language that was quickly becoming a galactic phenomenon. His friends had quietly drifted away, sensing that staying close to him was now a liability. The people who had laughed at his jokes and supported his pranks had vanished, leaving him alone with the consequences of his actions. Jiwoo noticed him standing there. She excused herself from a conversation with a Thorian ambassador and walked over. Her heels clicked on the crystal floor, each step confident and sure. "Velthar," she said quietly. He looked at her, and for the first time that evening, his mask slipped completely. Behind the arrogance and the perfect smile, he looked young and lost and scared. "You destroyed me," he said. It wasn't an accusation, just a statement of fact. "No," Jiwoo said. "You destroyed yourself. I just refused to be your victim." Velthar was silent for a moment. Around them the party continued, but they stood in a small bubble of privacy. "I didn't think," he started, then stopped. "I didn't think you were real. None of you. Humans, I mean. You were just the joke species. The primitives. Something to laugh at." He looked down at his hands. "I never considered that you had feelings, that you were people." "We are people," Jiwoo said simply. "Just like you. Just like everyone here. We laugh, we cry, we feel pain and joy and fear. The fact that we evolved on a different world doesn't change that." "I know that now," Velthar said. He took a deep breath. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. I know it doesn't undo what I did, but I'm sorry." Jiwoo studied his face, looking for signs of deception or manipulation. She found only genuine regret. "I accept your apology," she said. "But Velthar, understanding has to come with change. You can't just say sorry and go back to treating people the same way." "I won't," he said. "I can't. Everyone's watching me now." "Everyone knows what I did." He laughed bitterly. "I'm the cautionary tale. The famous person who fell from grace." "Good," Jiwoo said, and he looked up in surprise. "Maybe that's what you needed to be. Maybe that's what the galaxy needed to see. That actions have consequences. That you can't just treat people badly because they're different from you." She turned to leave, then paused. "You judged me based on appearance and origin, not character," Jiwoo said. "You assumed that because humans were new to galactic society, we were inferior. But the truth is, every species has value. Every culture has strengths. The Thorians have stability, the Velkari have grace, the Zilmari have beauty, and humans have resilience." She looked at him directly. "We survived on a world that tried to kill us every day. We climbed to the top of our food chain not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we were the most adaptable, because we could think and plan and work together, because we never gave up no matter how hard things got. That's why the miniskirt," Velthar said slowly, understanding finally dawning. "It's not about fashion. It's about confidence. You can wear something that looks fragile because you know you're not fragile. You don't need armor because you are the armor. Now you're learning," Jiwoo said. She smiled just a little. "Maybe there's hope for you yet, Velthar." She walked away, leaving him to contemplate his changed future. Across the room, Ambassador Yoon stood with Jae-hoon and several other human students who had arrived after hearing about the evening's events. Hana was there, beaming with pride. Sora was already working on designs, sketching outfits based on Jiwoo's success. Taemin stood with them, looking relieved and amazed. "She did it," Hana said as Jiwoo approached. "You actually did it." "We did it," Jiwoo corrected. "I couldn't have done this without all of you." 20 years, Ambassador Yoon said quietly. 20 years I've been fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy, giving speeches, negotiating treaties, arguing our case in council meetings. And you changed more minds in one evening than I managed in 2 decades. Sometimes, Jae-hoon said, actions speak louder than words. The galaxy needed to see what we could do, not just hear about it. It's already starting, Sora said, showing her datapad. Look at the social feeds. Humans are trending on every major network. People are sharing information about Earth. Scientists are requesting exchange programs. 3 different sports leagues have reached out asking for human participants. She scrolled through more messages. Universities want to study our physiology. Fashion designers want to learn about Earth clothing. Entertainment companies want to make shows about human culture. She looked up, her eyes bright. We're not the joke species anymore. We're the interesting species. The dangerous species, Taman added, reading his own device. Some commentators are worried. They're calling Earth a death world, and questioning whether humans should have been allowed into galactic society. Fear is natural, Ambassador Yoon said, but it's better than contempt. Fear can become respect. Contempt only breeds more contempt. The evening wound down eventually. Guests began to leave, heading back to their ships or quarters. The viewer count on the live streams had peaked at over 200 million, spread across dozens of worlds. Jiwoo's name was now known across a significant portion of the galaxy. As Jiwoo prepared to leave, Master Kelvos appeared beside her. A moment. Young one, the ancient headmaster said. They walked to one of the viewing windows overlooking the stars. The galaxy stretched out before them, infinite and beautiful and full of possibilities. You have changed things tonight, Master Kelvos said. Not just for yourself, but for all of humanity. The galaxy will not look at your species the same way again. Is that good or bad? Jiwoo asked. It is real, the headmaster replied. Before tonight, the galaxy saw a fiction. A story they told themselves about weak, primitive humans who barely deserved their place among the stars. Now they see truth. Sometimes truth is uncomfortable, but it is always better than comfortable fiction. He was quiet for a moment, looking out at the stars. I am old, Jiwoo. I have seen many species join the galactic community. Some came with great power and demanded respect. Others came with humility and earned respect slowly. But humans are different. You came quietly, not demanding anything, not claiming to be special. You simply survived. And survival, I think, is the most impressive power of all. What happens now? Jiwoo asked. Now? Master Kelvos smiled. Now the real work begins. Tonight was dramatic, yes, but changing minds takes more than one evening. There will still be those who fear humans, those who resent your strength, those who wish you had stayed on your death world and never reached for the stars. How do we deal with that? The same way you dealt with tonight, the headmaster said. With dignity, with strength, and with the understanding that you represent more than just yourself. Every human who enters the galaxy from this point forward will be judged partly by what you did here tonight. That is both a privilege and a burden. Jiwoo nodded slowly, understanding the weight of what he was saying. I'm ready, she said. I believe you are, Master Kelvos said. Go now, rest. Tomorrow you return to classes. And Jiwoo? I would wear the miniskirt again if I were you. Sometimes symbols matter. The next morning, Jiwoo walked into her quantum mechanics class wearing her Earth clothes, a miniskirt, a simple top, and comfortable shoes. No armor, no environmental support, no apologies. The classroom went silent as she entered, but this time the silence wasn't mocking. It was respectful. She took her usual seat in the back. Hana sat beside her, also wearing Earth clothes. Then Sora joined them, having stayed up all night making her own Earth-inspired outfit. Taemin sat behind them, grinning. One by one, the other human students in the academy began to appear. They gathered in the classroom, not hiding anymore, not making themselves small. They wore their Earth clothes with pride. They took up space without apologizing. They existed loudly instead of quietly. And around them, alien students watched with new eyes, not with contempt or amusement, but with curiosity and respect. The professor entered, an elderly Velkari who had taught at the academy for 50 years. She looked at the assembled students, at the humans gathered together, and the atmosphere of change that filled the room. Well, she said dryly, it seems I missed an interesting evening. She set down her materials. Let us begin today's lesson on quantum field theory. And perhaps afterward, some of you can explain to this old teacher why humanity's social media presence increased by 3,000% overnight. The class laughed, tension breaking like a wave against shore. As the lesson began, Jiwoo looked around at her classmates. Humans and aliens all learning together,